Hey everyone, let's talk about shore excursions. So I'm convinced that picking the correct shore excursion can make or break your trip. There's a lot of different things that I like to look at when I am deciding which tour I'm going to book, and I want to just share some of the things that I've learned over the years with you all, so that way you can also pick the best tour for you, your partner, your family, whoever you're going with. So first off, duration of the tour. Most recently, I got in trouble by not paying attention to tour duration when we were in Florence. So the port of La Spezia is about a 2 hour drive to Florence and about a 2 hour drive back from Florence. Because it takes 4 hours to get to Florence round trip, the excursions for Florence were sometimes 10 and a half hours long. Unfortunately, I had booked a specialty dinner restaurant for that same evening, and come to find out, the math didn't work. So the 10-hour tour and the dinner reservation could not coexist because we wouldn't even get back to the boat before dinner was already almost over. So check your tour duration and make sure that it doesn't overlap with anything else that you may have planned. Another piece of this puzzle is when the tour leaves and when the tour gets back. And I know those two things may seem like the same topic or the same criteria, but I look at them just slightly different. And the reason why I think start time and end time is equally as important as duration is basically, like, do you have enough time to rest? A lot of tours will leave very early in the morning, 7 a.m., and that's when you leave. That's not, when you wake up. That's when you leave. And so I think making sure that you're extra aware of when a tour starts and when a tour ends is going to be really important. Because if you're like me and you don't like waking up early, stay away from the 7 a.m. tours and book the afternoon tours or the later morning tours. And then vice versa, if you want to go outside and go shopping before all aboard, then maybe booking the tour that starts at 1 or 2 p.m. isn't the best choice because you're not going to have enough time in the afternoon before all aboard to get the things done that you want to get done. So start time and end time, I think, is equally as important as duration. Now let's talk about cost, because sometimes duration and cost can be connected. So generally speaking, the longer the tour, the more expensive it is, which is not necessarily a problem. Oftentimes you get more stuff with the longer tours, so a higher cost makes more sense. But just be careful. Prices are oftentimes advertised per person. I've seen prices as low as $30, $40 per person, and I've seen prices as high as $1,000 per person. So you really just need to take into consideration what your budget is. And, unfortunately, if the tour is outside of your budget range, then maybe that's not the tour you do this time. I do want to talk in our next video about the difference between booking a shore excursion through the cruise line and booking through maybe a third party. But sometimes booking through a third party is cheaper, so just keep that in mind. If you are just absolutely dead set on doing this one activity and the cruise line's shore excursion price is outside of your range, then definitely check out the third party tours and see if they have any options that are more in your range. Again, I'm going to be talking about that strategy a little bit more in the next video. So stay tuned for my tips and tricks regarding booking through third party tours. So we talked about duration, we've talked about start time and end time, we've talked about cost. The other thing that you really need to pay attention to is activity level. I have been on tours. For example, we went to a tour in Pompeii. In the actual description of the tour, it said very clearly that this was a strenuous activity. You had to be able to walk on uneven surfaces. You had to be able to walk uphill. You had to be able to walk upstairs. And unfortunately, people booked that tour that had mobility issues, and they ended up having a miserable experience. And it had it had nothing to do with the tour guide or the tour itself or anything like that. It's just, unfortunately, those passengers didn't pay attention to what the description of the tour said, or maybe they read it and they just thought that it was an exaggeration. Not sure, but pay attention to whether it's strenuous, whether it's mild, whether it's moderate. Pay attention to the estimations for how long you're going to be able to, we're going to be asked to walk, on what surfaces, what modes of transportation you're going to be taking. So if you're going to do a catamaran boat ride and you get seasick very easy, maybe that's not the tour for you. But make sure you pick the tour that's appropriate for your activity level. And your activity level can change. That's something that I think is very important. A lot of people, when they go on a cruise, they want to go, 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 go. I call those adventure cruises. Those cruises where basically you have a new port every day and you just do tour, 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 tour. Those are adventure cruises to me. Those are not relaxation vacation cruises to me. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Even if you are a very physically active or fit person, or you really want to do the strenuous activities, it may not be a good idea to do the strenuous activities day after day after day after day, even if, again, you are healthy and you have, good activity levels. You're probably going to be exhausted. So at the end of your trip, you're probably going to be more tired than you started. And I don't mean that in a good way. So pay attention to the tour you booked for yesterday, the tour you booked for tomorrow. Because if you have 2 or 3 strenuous activities in a row, you're going to be exhausted. And if you aren't careful, you're not going to have any time to rest. So when you are on the ship, all you're going to be doing is sleeping. And I don't think that that is a really good use of everyone's time if you only go on cruises once every now and then. So those are some of the things that I pay attention to when I'm booking my shore excursions. I hope that these tips and tricks kind of, helped out. But yeah, happy booking.